Chad. Welcome back, or I should say, I'm welcoming myself back to my own channel. Anyways, so as you can see, new house, new setting, I should say, because you don't know where I live. But don't mind the messy nightstand. Chair fixed. No more socks to cover my elbows from getting stabbed by my chair that I broke out of rage from my game. So, anyways, so now that we're in the new house, settled down and stuff, I didn't buy the house. I don't much like that, right? But now that we're in the new house, content's gonna come out more. I'm saying more videos, better editing. I'll figure out how to edit better somehow. But today's reaction, I had a video I just recorded just before this one. The audio did not record because I don't know how to work software. I'm bad at working software. I figured it out too. But anyway, second video of the day, first video for y'all, but second video for me is called "The Most Brutal Deaths in History." Let's get into it.
Imagine a punishment so gruesome that, in an era of cruel executions, it still stood out as extraordinarily horrific. Well, that's exactly what execution by sawing in half was. In today's video, we will explore how this was carried out, where and when it was used,
Oh
and
my
why it
god.
eventually disappeared
From my
from the
gooch
world's
down.
penal
Good
practices.
god.
Death by sawing is, as implied, literally cutting a living person in half.
Bro, sawing somebody in half. Like I made some TikToks this morning, well yesterday and this morning, basically, where you don't know what it means to take somebody's life because it's such a like I don't people keep misunderstanding what I'm saying in the comment section of the TikTok. They kept thinking I was talking about self-defense or the legal aspect. I'm talking about specifically and solely the human aspect of it. The human, like, yes, like human history, obviously people were killing people nonstop for any reason. My my equivalent was swatting a fly or any bug in cold blood. As a human being, you would not be able to physiologically swat somebody, another human being, like a bug, because you value human life. Like you don't value bugs' life like that. No movie, no sponsor, right? But you would not be able to do the same thing you do to any kind of fly you see. You would not be able to fly swat a human being and take their life and be like going about your day. You know what I'm saying? That's cold blood. I don't mean self defense. When you are in mortal danger of your life, that's when it's like, okay, you most likely would or could. But when you are in a situation where you are no longer in immediate mortal danger, you would not be able to just take someone's life. You know what I'm saying? It sounds like, okay, I just pull the trigger. No, they're dead. Like, no. I made a whole video. I made like 15 videos on that just today, right? So, anyways, sawing somebody in half is one of those things where, like, bro, stabbing somebody is already crazy enough. Shooting somebody, okay, you're not as hands on with that, but stabbing somebody is one of the craziest things ever because you have to, like, bro, stabbing somebody's. I think I've heard that it's really hard because like bones and stuff, right? Stabbing through somebody's body is insane, let alone sawing somebody. And sawing is a lot. Stabbing is okay. At least it's quick, right, for both people. But sawing somebody, you have to saw, and they're screaming. They're not even dead. They're literally alive. They're alive while doing this, bro. People are like people in my conversation were saying back in the day, people were just doing it like yes they were. But I also said to them as a response that education and the understanding of humans and a bunch of other stuff leaves that stuff behind. This is very primal, which is ironic because this is one of the most brutal things of all time. But that's a very primal mindset to have where you don't value human life that so little that you are able to saw somebody in half while they're alive as a punishment, let alone just doing it just because you were survival or self defense. Because you can't, bro, you don't saw someone in half for self defense. Anyways, let's go back to the video.
Executioners could carry out one of three
From the gooch
variations.
down.
The first being where the condemned was suspended upside down so that the blood rushed to the head
Wait,
and would keep
what?
them conscious for longer.
Humans are so
Then
weird,
they
bro.
would place a large saw at the victim's crotch and saw downwards through the body. This process was often done slowly to maximize
What
pain,
is wrong with y'all,
essentially.
bro? What is wrong with y'all, bro? Yeah, like humans are the scariest creatures on the planet. I saw a video however long ago, right? Where humans are so scary because they know exactly what fear and pain is and how to reinflict that with their own hands onto somebody else. That's why humans are so scary because they know how fear works. They know how pain works. But this is so insane. What are y'all? What like? There is boredom and you come up with things to do, but then there's and that's not like it's insanity because it's like, bro, yes, the king, whoever was in charge, thought of these things to do, but then the people that actually had to do it, like these two people, this is real history, right? These or people that are actually human beings had to saw somebody from the gooch down. And like they just said, it's slow. You're sawing somebody's body in half slowly from the gooch. Golly, boy.
torturing the victim as they died.
Holy
There are even
fuck.
accounts that some victims remained conscious until the saw reached the mid-torso
Like
region. The
what?
condemned could feel, quite literally, themselves being cut in half as the
Bro.
saw made its way through their body, well
This is one
before
of
they lost
bro. I've
consciousness.
seen so many of this guy's videos, Disturbing Histories videos, but this is one of the most like outrageous like types of punishments I've ever heard. I've heard of the whole the flies, honey, and feathers thing. I've heard of the tarring. Well, that's the same thing, I guess. But the brazen bull, this and some of the bro. This is the top three most brutal and disturbing types of deaths I've heard of so far. This is only the first one in a 9-minute video. Come on, bro.
This unspeakable method was deliberately designed to be slow and agonizing,
Fucking
making it
insane.
one of the most brutal punishments
Gooch
ever
down, bro.
conceived. The second variation was considered marginally more merciful by executioners. In this method, the saw was placed above the victim's head,
I
and the
guess.
cut was carried downward through the skull
I
and
guess,
torso.
bro.
Death would typically occur more quickly than in the other form,
Yeah,
as
I
severe
would hope you
trauma to
die
the
from
head
immediately
often led
from a
to
head
rapid
saw.
loss of consciousness. But even so, the act remained extraordinarily violent. The positioning was not
Bro,
intended to spare the victim from suffering entirely, but
humans are
rather
so
to
crazy for this
shorten
shit,
the
bro.
duration of awareness. And finally, the third method, involving placing a saw or blade directly at the waist or midsection
Holy
and
shit, bro.
cutting the body in
Because like,
half
bro,
horizontally.
at the very least, the guillotine was a one swift chop, and I think even I've heard sometimes, maybe it's not accurate, but I've heard sometimes that it even didn't do all the way, so I had to do it again. But at least it was one swift chop. This you are sawing, bro. Yeah, it's a serrated blade and it's pretty sharp, obviously. But it's like you just like if you've sawed something, if you cut a steak, you know it's not just a whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Even the sharpest knife isn't just an immediate, with the steak. It takes some time. So let alone having bones and muscles and intense like bro, this is humans are so crazy, bro.
This approach was
Humans
usually
are
faster
stupid and
than
weird,
vertical
bro.
sawing, as it severed vital organs and major blood vessels more quickly. However, it was still deeply traumatic and terrifying. This method emphasized finality rather
They
than
keep
prolonged
going
suffering,
for the meat,
but it
bro.
retained its symbolic brutality. The act of
Holy
dividing the
shit,
body
bro.
at the center carried a powerful message of domination and punishment,
Domination.
reinforcing the
Domination.
authority of those who carried out the execution. In many instances, this would be done in front
Is
of
he
an
waterboarding
eager
in two?
audience. You might think that such brutal executions would be something that many would not
Oh my
wish to
god.
see, but they were so violent as to deter anyone else from committing the serious crimes for which such executions were reserved, such as treason or attempting to kill a monarch. In all three variations, the purpose extended beyond killing alone. The method was designed to prolong anticipation, forcing the condemned to confront the act before it even began. The visible presence of the saw, the deliberate pacing, and the public setting created immense psychological terror long before the death itself, making the execution as much an exercise in fear and intimidation as in punishment.
Think
One of the
smiling and shit,
earliest
bro.
references to
Think
execution by
smiling and
sawing
shit, bro.
comes
Just
from
having a
the
great time.
ancient Persian
Cutting niggas'
world
balls off,
in the
bro.
5th century BC. This
Insane, bro.
account comes from Ctesias. Ctesias was a Greek physician who served at the court of the Persian king Artaxerxes II. He described how the Persian royal court sometimes used extreme and highly public forms of punishment against enemies and rivals. According to his account, these punishments included execution by sawing. The depraved Roman Emperor Caligula also reportedly
Caligula.
used this practice with
Wait,
enthusiasm.
corregular? Clavicular? I'm on to you.
Some sources claim that
On to
during
you.
Caligula's reign, numerous condemned people, including members of his own family, were sawn in half across the torso. Caligula is even said to have watched these executions whilst eating food, claiming that witnessing these horrors made him
Imagine eating a rack of baby back ribs while watching a nigga get his ribs cut in half. Personally, the first time I'm doing it, I wouldn't be able. The first time I've seen somebody get cut in half, I wouldn't be able to eat my ribs. Maybe my fifth time, but eating food while watching somebody get cut in half is some barbaric shit, bro.
hungry, although this could have been a little bit of propaganda against him. Execution by sawing cropped up in many parts of the world over the centuries: Europe, Asia, the Middle East, and Africa. One notorious case occurred in Morocco in
Oh, moment of realization, chat. This is actually the whole video is about sawing or soaring, according to the guy in the video, right? But I thought this was like a one. He usually does videos where it's multiple different things in the video. But this is just one video or one thing within the video. Got you. No one. I'm like this nigga talking about this shit for a long
1705
time.
under Sultan Moulay Ismail. A rebel governor named Al-Qaid Malik was sentenced to death by sawing after leading a revolt. Accounts describe how the Sultan sought advice from his favorite carpenter about which of his saws would be best to cut a man in half with. The Sultan ordered that it be done lengthwise from head to toe. Malik was tied to a
Insane to think
board,
about this shit, bro.
ready to be sawed alive. But when the day came, it was decided that the executioners should begin at his groin. It
It's
said
like, dude,
that he remained
like I know I keep saying it in the videos I posted on TikTok today, talking about how taking someone's life is not just to pull the trigger in terms of like not in the heat of the moment thing. You have to contemplatingly doing it. It's insane, right? This is a slow process to say even set it up, let alone actually do it. You have to be like, okay, we gotta find out how to even get this dude up in the air in a position to be sawed in half. Well, then have to saw the nigga in half. So you have so much time before, as in the person that's doing it, the ones that are sawing and the ones that creating the process of sawing somebody, right? To create a saw or to create something, an environment, an instrument to hang somebody from to saw them in half involves so much contemplation and planning that you would think that in the time that they're taking to plan this out, they would have been like, maybe I shouldn't saw this guy in half. Maybe I shouldn't kill him with a saw from the balls up. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like there's so much that could have stopped this from happening, but he just kept it going. Like, bro, it's not like an IKEA shelf where you set it up in 30 minutes, right? This is a whole thing that had to get multiple different tools together to build whatever platform, whatever thing you want to hang him from, and then do it. That's like hours, and they're still gonna saw the niggas from the balls up. Come on, bro.
conscious until nearly the end. In medieval Europe, death by sawing was not a common official penalty, but there are a few references to its use in extreme cases. For example, during the Spanish Inquisition, there is one report from the Morisco Revolt in Granada, in which a captured Muslim rebel was sawn apart alive by Spanish authorities in 1569. This was considered, even during an exceptionally bloody conflict, to be incredibly cruel. Methods akin to sawing were also used in Asia. Ancient China had an execution known as the waist chop, essentially cutting a person in two at the waist. This dates back to the Zhou dynasty and was one of the harshest penalties
And
in
it's like, bro,
imperial
he probably said it already or was gonna say it in the video, but like, bro, unless you are getting shot in the or your head bashed in like completely instantaneously, you're gonna be sentient, well, conscious and sentient for a little bit after this happens. Like you're cut in half, your head is still intact, your brain, like you're gonna feel it all. If you've seen those videos of like on the Science Channel or whatever of those frog legs that are those frog legs have been dead for a little while, but as a human, well, as like any living creature with a vertebrate creature, right? You're gonna be alive for however long after getting something like that. Like you're not immediately dead. You're dying pretty quickly. You're gonna bleed out pretty quickly, but you're not dead immediately just because you get cut in half. You're dead. You're dead regardless in the next 10 minutes. But it's like, bro, you're alive. You're feeling this. You're consciously seeing your body's in half. Come on, man.
China. The waist chop typically involved a
Waist chop.
single powerful cut with a blade to sever the body at the midsection, but sometimes it took multiple cuts to fully divide
Butt
the
cheeks out and
victim.
shit, bro.
The Chinese even developed a technique for vertical sawing in at least some cases. The condemned would be secured
shit,
upright
bro.
between two boards fixed at stakes, and two executioners would pull a saw back and forth to slice down through the boards and the enclosed victim.
Like, bro, forget the visual, the screaming, bro. Come on, man. People are so
Chinese
brutal,
historical
dude.
figures were executed by being cut in half. One often cited figure is Guo Qi,
Guo
a
Qi.
prominent poet who was executed in 1379. Gao Qi fell
Guo
victim
Qi.
to the early Ming dynasty's harsh political purges, which targeted scholars and officials suspected of dissident or insufficient loyalty. Another particularly grim example is that of Yu Hongtu.
You, ooh,
According to the legend, in 1734, Yu was sentenced to waist cutting. So the story goes, he remained conscious briefly after the blow, and before dying,
I am a scientific genius. I knew. I mean, this is common sense.
he used his own blood to write the word cruel on the ground. It's said that
That's
when the
kind of
news
that.
of this
That is pretty tough though. Reason. I mean, it's sad, obviously, but it's tough. Like, let me write cruel in my own blood. Um, yeah, that's a bit.
execution reached the emperor, he was so appalled by the brutality that he ordered waist cutting to be abolished entirely. Elsewhere in Asia, one of the most famous accounts of execution by sawing occurred in India. In 1765, the ninth Sikh guru Tegh Bahadur was arrested in
Bahadur.
Delhi following the reign of one of the Mughal emperors. The guru had openly
Why is he doing
opposed
the speed
policies
meme, bro?
that pressured non-Muslims to convert, bringing him
Why is
into
he doing the
direct
speed, bro? I could
conflict
laugh
with
shit, bro.
imperial authority. He was imprisoned alongside several close companions, and one of them was Bhai Mati Das, a devout Sikh. Sikh sources state that Bhai Mati Das was offered clemency if he renounced his faith and joined Islam, but he refused. According to Sikh writings, he was then executed in a public display meant to intimidate others. He was bound upright between two wooden planks and then sawn in half. However, it's said that he remained totally composed throughout the entire execution and recited
Absurd.
scripture until the brutal end. He is
Absurd.
remembered in Sikh history for his acts of religious sacrifice and resistance. The day of his death is celebrated as a public holiday in some parts of India. Some of the last alleged
God
Tsar
damn.
executions
No
occurred
way.
during the Hungarian Revolution of 1848, although they do appear in partisan accusations rather than verified legal records. By this point, sawing had ceased to exist as a lawful punishment and survived only as an accusation of vigilante brutality in moments of chaos. After the mid-19th century, no
Stop
recognized
showing me
state
this,
continued
bro.
to
My
employ
balls,
sawing in
bro.
half
Stop
as an
showing me this
execution
shit,
method.
God.
As legal
Oh
systems
my
reformed,
god.
most governments sought more humane or at least quicker methods of execution. Public sensibilities were shifting, and prolonged torture killings came to be seen as barbaric and unacceptable. But it's terrifying to think that for some people, being sawn in half was their very last moments on this earth.
God damn. My way. Holy fuck, man.
I'm sure you've experienced.
Holy fuck. God, right. Getting sawed in half. It's beyond outrageous, bro. That's generally that's top three most brutal, most disturbing types of punishments I've ever heard of in human history, bro. And for me, it's the what's it called, the brazen bull, the tar and feather thing, where you're getting put on a raft and being covered in honey and stuff, getting eaten by flies and birds and shit. And then this one, top three, no particular order, just insane. Come on, man. Let's be for real here.